Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. It's snowing a little bit out there. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got a lot to cover on the broadcast this morning. And our friend, Sheriff Jim Allard, will be our guest in the 7 o'clock hour. So get your questions in for the sheriff. That again in the 7 o'clock hour. Is everything look good? Yep. Okay. I was just making sure everything looks okay there. All right. A comment after, well, I just missed it during yesterday's broadcast, and I appreciate this being sent in, so I wanted to read it. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I believe that J.D. Vance will prove to be the left's worst nightmare. He has the feistiness of Trump, but is more difficult to rattle. Also, his time in Congress will give him a different insight than our president. Already looking forward to 8 years of the Vance administration. I've been extremely impressed with Vance. Just the way he handled that interview on Sunday is a prime example. With Martha Brennan, to that viewer's point, difficult to rattle. He can handle it. As a matter of fact, there's sometimes you want to see him almost get more aggressive. But it's a good thing that he doesn't. So I've been very impressed. I think that was a good pick overall. It'll be nice to get to know his wife, Usha, better because she's been very impressive. And their kids were even pretty well behaved. I was grumpier than them by the end of Inauguration Day. It was such a long day. So, yes, I'm excited about the future for J.D. Vance. Breaking news from last night, U.S. Border Patrol and the Mexican cartel members traded gunfire at the southern border. The shooting took place around 1:30 p.m. in Texas, but no injuries were reported. Customs and Border Protection said in a statement without revealing more details. A group of migrants were trying to cross the Rio Grande when shots first rang out, according to Fox News. Border Patrol agents then returned fire at suspected cartel members. The scene where the shooting took place remains active with the Customs and Border Protection Office of Professional Responsibility, the DHS Office of Inspector General, the FBI, and Texas Department of Public Safety all involved in the probe. The shooting comes as President Trump makes crackdowns, and we'll be talking about this more extensively later on in the program, on illegal immigration and fortifying the southern border at an early hallmark of his second term in the Oval Office. So that came in 1:30 Fronton, Texas time, but more information was reported at around 1 o'clock this morning. The U.S. Border Patrol and Mexican cartel members traded gunfire at the southern border. So there is a breaking news story this morning. Okay, we got quite a few things to get to. I see some comments coming in. We'll get to those after the first break. Here is an update. We've got a lot of updates actually this morning from the Trump administration. Yesterday, signing in an executive order to reinstate thousands of troops that were discharged for not taking the COVID-19 vaccine. Also, he banned transgender troops. We're going to talk about all of that, some of the things that Pete Hegseth has proposed, taking a look at his cabinet in general. But first, as a kind of update from a story for whatever reason we've been bringing to you quite frequently on the program, the Gulf of America and Mount Kinley will soon appear on Google Maps to reflect President Trump's decision to rename the two features. Now, this coming off the story that the AP Style Guide is referring to it, at least in the American editions, as the Gulf of America and Mount McKinley. The navigation mainstay, the Google Maps that is, will make the changes as soon as the Department of the Interior updates the Geographic Names Information System, according to Google. Quote, we received a few questions about naming with Google Maps. We have a long-standing practice of applying name changes when they have been updated in official government sources. When the GNIS makes the change, Google will then move to update Google Maps in the U.S. quickly to show Mount McKinley and the Gulf of America. The company said the forthcoming updates follows their long-standing practice regarding official names of places that vary between countries. Google Map users will see their official local names based on their location. So for users outside of the United States, Google Maps will likely still have the previous name, the Gulf of Mexico, listed alongside the new one. Quote, everyone in the rest of the world sees both names, Google said. That applies here too. So there you are. Google Maps. Changing to the Gulf of America. Hey, did you see, and this is another breaking story from overnight, Jim Acosta is leaving CNN. Now, if you recall, during the first Trump term, Jim Acosta became almost a poster person for anti-Trump journalism, getting very confrontational at press conferences. He liked being an activist. He liked the stories being about himself and not the actual news. He wanted to be the news. It received a lot of criticism. It's one of the reasons why CNN is struggling so much in the ratings, because of that bias. They'll always say perceived bias. It's not perceived. It was crystal clear. Well, we have been following the back and forth of his time slot being moved. Well, because of that move, he is now, according to reports, leaving CNN after being pulled from the network's programming schedule. The domestic correspondent, is his official title, Jim Acosta, is expected to leave the cable news network after his show was replaced and he was yanked from all scheduled programming. Originally, it was reported that he was going to be on at midnight, but that even looks as if perhaps that was no longer the case. Last week, the anchor's 10 a.m. slot on the network was replaced with a Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer and Pamela Brown due to the network's scheduling rearrangement. At the time, there was no official word on where Acosta would fit in. Now, there's a lot on the left that are criticizing this, suggesting that it was kind of bowing to Trump. But I have not heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you have, I had not heard President Trump reference Acosta in quite some time. But at the time, there was no official word on where Acosta would fit in, but the network apparently asked him to take a graveyard shift with a midnight program. The change in scheduling seemed to be a deal breaker, and Acosta is now expected to leave CNN altogether, is what the Status Newsletter and Fox News is reporting. The anchor reportedly, quote, struggled with the choice, an outsider at the cable news network told Fox, which may have influenced him to cut his contract short. Well, obviously midnight, not a preferred time slot for someone who thinks of himself as a star, who thought of him as the anti-Trump resistance at CNN. Another person at CNN told Fox that they were disappointed with Acosta's apparent resignation and figured he had the talent to make very late night news appealing. Many viewers like Jim. If there's anyone who can make the overnight go, it's him. It's sad to see him go, the insider said. Acosta has become notorious for being one of CNN's chief journalists to dig in on Trump and even pick fights with the president during his first term. His pushback against the Trump administration nearly got him banned from White House briefings, if you recall, with staffers trying to revoke his press pass. The broadcast journalist towed the line during his time as CNN's chief White House correspondent during Trump's first term. He struck up a testy relationship with just about everyone he came in contact with in the administration, ranging from aides to Trump himself. Most famously, if you recall, Acosta refused to back down during a 2018 press conference where he and Trump had a heated back and forth. Yes, that was another thing that many people in the media started to get upset over as well, that he was taking time from other quote-unquote journalists to ask questions. Following the 2020 election, Acosta left Washington behind and took over as chief domestic correspondent. Acosta's expected departure from the network comes as current CNN leadership tries to take a more neutral approach to politics during Trump's second term, and at a time when we see layoffs at CNN, a lot of reconfiguring, if you will. So it really doesn't come as a surprise once we heard the news that he was being moved to midnight. Now, I don't know if anybody assumed that he would step aside and lose or leave the job, but it was seen as quite a kind of an insult for a guy who even more recently had that sign about free press and Jim Acosta praising himself. Very typical of many in the media, this idea about me, and that's what it turned into at the press conferences, where other journalists weren't allowed to ask questions because he kind of filibustered during those press conferences. Wow, is there a problem? When people tell me no, there's no problem. I'm getting a lot of comments, but someone asking if there is a problem with the show, it doesn't look it to me. No, everything looks fine. As a matter of fact, we're going to take a short break because we've got a couple other media updates. We're going to get away from that. But I thought that was important to note that Jim Acosta is leaving CNN after being pulled from the networking program. CNN may be trying to signal that they're going to be more fair. I don't see that necessarily coming. Just like all these people said the media and those on the left have to do some soul searching after the election, and then you see Margaret Brennan and how she handled J.D. Vance and that obviously dislike, that almost contempt for Vance during that Sunday show on CBS. We're going to tell you a little bit more about the media. We got a lot here about Trump's administration. A lot of waves coming in. Thank you. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Today's topic, increasing fuel costs continue to drive up inflation, making it harder to afford everything from food to home heating.
Here at Hustlesons, we know the only way to beat inflation is to fight inflation. So we're fighting back with zero interest financing and big cash rebates. Get a 4-person hot tub for your family for as little as $100 per month and pay zero interest. Or save up to $3,000 on a fabulous salt system hot tub. And of course, you will always get Hustlesons' unbelievable service. Don't let inflation fears kill your dreams. Fight back with Hustlesons. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hustlesons.
Lease a new 2025 Chevy Silverado 1500 LT Crew Cab 4x4 with GM Lease Loyalty or Conquest Bonus for only $449 a month for 36 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Chevrolet in Bath.
In a few words, Urkel, glasses, nerd. It pays to know your nerds. If you guys didn't get nerd with me sitting up here on this show, 25 words or less.
Weeknights at 5 and 5:30 on Big Fox.
Welcome to Frankly Speaking, talking to the people that affect your life, that affect all of our day-to-day lives. This is something that you're not going to get anywhere else. We've got a lot to offer. There'll be a lot of news, local, regional, national, really the things that affect you. And I think you'll be glad that you tuned in. So think of it as radio on TV. Frankly Speaking, live, 2 hours long, starting at 6 a.m. on WYDC TV Big Fox. This is... I think we might have a little bit of snow on the roof, Cam. Wow, that's a new look. Must have had snow hit it just perfectly. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Yes, I'm getting a lot of comments. We are going to talk about Trump's decision yesterday, a couple different things, signing executive orders to reshape the military, including banning transgender troops, also signing the executive order to reinstate thousands of troops discharged for not taking the COVID vaccine. We're going to talk about this as well, but quickly, and I got a lot of comments on that, so I'm paraphrasing. We will get into it. I do want to mention this comment. If illegals are allowed to stay, it would be an injustice to those that did it correctly. They take classes, fill out tons of paperwork, and pay for the privilege to become citizens. Yes, that's a very good point. That's why, pardon me, polls showed that the Hispanic vote in many instances was against illegal immigration, and the media is going full force on these crackdowns as trying to paint them in a bad light when, again, you say, aren't they deporting the criminals? Not just on the fact that it's illegal, hence the name, to come here illegally, but also the ones, the illegal aliens that they've been deporting have a criminal record. So the media is trying, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. But back to media updates, ABC, CBS, and NBC spent 46 minutes covering the Trump January 6th pardons and less than 4 minutes on the Joe Biden pardons. See, that is such a stain on Joe Biden's, whatever you want to call it, legacy. That even David Axelrod was saying it was tawdry. So many others on the left were criticizing it. So they kind of want to whitewash it. They want to put it in the background, not highlight it to you so that you'll forget about it. But I'll continue. ABC, CBS, NBC spent over 46 minutes covering President Trump pardoning January 6th defendants, but barely found time to mention former President Joe Biden issuing preemptive pardons for his family. During the final hours of his administration last week, Biden issued preemptive pardons for relatives James Biden, Sarah Jones Biden, Valerie Biden Owens, John Owens, and Frances Biden. That same day, Trump signed off on pardoning more than 1,500 charged with crimes stemming from the January 6, 2021 attack at the U.S. Capitol shortly after retaking office. Now, the Media Research Center analyzed the morning and evening newscasts on ABC, CBS, and NBC to determine how the pardons were covered. Now, keep in mind, the pair of orders did occur on the same day. They found that ABC, CBS, and NBC on day one spent 46 minutes and 32 seconds on the Trump pardons compared to only 3 minutes and 32 seconds on Biden's preemptive pardons. And I'm not going to go through each individual newscast, but it should come as no surprise. This is how the media is operating now. Think of the difference, folks. Think of the difference of the coverage of Trump this last week as compared to the 4 years of the Biden administration. Very happy to ignore stories about Biden, very happy to not have news from the White House. But with Trump, obviously we've seen it, the magnifying glass is back out. I'm sure many are upset they're working weekends again because there is so much news in the Trump administration, but their focus and their negative focus, which we're going to talk about here in just a little bit, is what's the most troubling and so glaringly obvious after coming off of 4 years of kid glove treatment of the Biden administration. In response to that, the White House yesterday afternoon rolled out a new social media account aimed to hold, quote, fake news accountable. This is what was posted. Welcome to the official rapid response account of the Trump 47 White House. We will be supporting President Donald J. Trump's America First agenda and holding the fake news accountable for their lies. Let's make America great again. The newly formed X account, yes, this is on X, posted in its first message. It's called Rapid Response 47. President Trump's first administration included labeling certain news outlets as fake news. We know that. A senior GOP strategist celebrated the new account, saying it is bad news for the fake news media. President Trump won the 2024 election in part due to the irrelevant and swift nature of their pushback against fake narratives and amplification of the facts. A Trump rapid response account is bad news for the fake news media and good news for the American people. Now we know that he it's called rapid response, but he would go after the fake news, as he called it back in 2016. But it's nice to see that the news will be held somewhat to account. And I think that's why, Jim McCaw's out at CNN. I think that's why you're going to see more pushback from these outlets that become radicalized, that become so political, which we're already beginning to see. And it's not just the media that hasn't learned their lesson. Have you seen this? I don't know what this is going to make you feel this morning. This is coming from NBC News. Democratic lawmakers are slamming Trump for not making good on the promise to immediately lower food prices amid egg shortage. Yes, I know what you're saying. It's been a week. And we were told for 4 years that there was no inflation, that everything was great. Never mind your grocery bills. Never mind your gas bills. Everything's great under the Biden administration. Boy, how the tables have turned. During your first week of office, you've instead focused on mass deportation and pardoning January 6th attackers, said Senator Elizabeth Warren and 19 other lawmakers in a letter to the president. Yes, it's been a week and he didn't lower something that's going to take a long time with how much money was spent by the Biden administration, rapidly increasing inflation. But he had a week and now they're upset. The letter addressed to Trump accuses the president of backtracking on a campaign promise to lower supermarket bills starting on day one of his term. Quote, during your campaign, you repeatedly promised you would lower food prices immediately if elected president. But during your first week of office, you've instead focused on mass deportations and pardoning January 6th attackers. Your sole action on cost was an executive order that contained only the barest mention of food prices and not a single specific policy to reduce them. The letter comes as food prices continue to rise. Again, this coming from the same group, and this is twofold, because it's not only the Democrat lawmakers, but it's also the media who is reporting on this, to somehow blame Trump for not fixing the economy week one, not lowering inflation week one. Yet look at the coverage, look at the comments for the last 4 years, which was everything's fine, never mind your bills. As a matter of fact, we will mock and ridicule you if you highlight that you're struggling to pay your bills and struggling to afford grocery. We will mock and ridicule you. That's coming from both the politicians as well as the media. In response to the letter, the Trump administration said, President Trump immediately took action on day one to unleash American energy, which will drive down costs for families across the country. He has already ended the failed economic policies of the past 4 years that skyrocketed inflation, which were rubber-stamped by Elizabeth Warren. Warren has long advocated on behalf of consumers, et cetera, et cetera. This is coming from NBC, so take it with a grain of salt. So there you go. 1 week in and receiving more criticism on the economy than Biden did in 4 years combined. Yes, and the media is more than happy to run with it. Expect record high egg prices for most of the year. This coming from CNN. Americans can continue to expect high prices for eggs this year due to the ongoing avian flu outbreak and inflation. Egg prices are estimated to increase about 20% in the year 2025 compared to about 2.2% for food prices in general. While some states escaped last year's outbreak, many have reported a resurgence of the virus, which killed about 17.2 million egg-laying hens in November and December. The average price of a dozen large grade A eggs was $4.15 in December, up from $3.65 in November. Emily Metz, president and CEO of the American Egg Board, said not to be the bearer of bad news, but we're in this for a while. Until we have time without a detection, unfortunately, this very, very tight egg supply is going to continue. Now, they're also saying don't panic buy if you do see them. But trying to somehow, again, a weekend, somehow trying to tie this in with Trump. But we've got more on Trump that we're going to talk about. Quite a few things here about what he's been doing. Every day is a busy, busy news day, isn't it? So stay with us. Again, Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard will be our guest in the 7 o'clock hour. So if you have any questions for the sheriff, please pass them along. I'll try to do my best to get to them during our interview. So that is today at 7. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Frankly Speaking, Roof Cam is brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs.
Are diapers destroying your confidence? Men's Liberty is the answer for incontinence. Quality of life is so important. You want quality of life up here. But guys, diapers, that's down here. Imagine staying dry 24 hours, day and night. Quality of life, up here. Men's Liberty can help with their revolutionary and super discreet urine collection system that's safe, sanitary, and has sold over 5 million. So discreet, no one knows you're wearing it, giving you a long-term solution to deal with incontinence. With Men's Liberty, life-changing freedom, and Medicare can cover it. Call Men's Liberty to get a free week supply with your first order and see how Men's Liberty may be available at little or no cost to you. Let Men's Liberty help you get back out there. Quality of life? Up here with the most revolutionary solution to incontinence ever made. Call Men's Liberty right away.
Call 800-484-4675. That's 800-484-4675.
Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app. Your teams, your highlights, your scores. Get more of what you want. To the end zone. Stream your teams live. It's free with your pay TV subscription. Grab your Fox Sports app today.
The Fox website
is here. Now, WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news, here, now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. As you can tell, a little bit of snow on the camera this morning. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street Coring. Let's go through some viewer comments. Recall when it was considered bad taste to report negativity. Let me try that again. Recall when it was considered bad taste to report negatively on the president of the U.S. Now it seems you are rewarded for doing so. Yeah, in most instances, especially at the beginning of the Biden administration, if you mention anything about mental acuity or maybe suggesting that there should be some type of cognitive test, you were called right-wing propaganda. You were saying, as this viewer mentions, it was bad taste to criticize the president, but now it is rewarded in most instances. Though there are a lot of people, if you noticed after the inauguration, a lot of newsrooms being cut, like a CNN, CBS, I believe, as well. You've had examples where there are mass layoffs. The ratings, like MSNBC, are so low that they're going kind of an offshoot from their parent company. So I don't think it's as rewarded as much as it was in 2016. Now I think they're trying to find their footing a little bit. That's not to say they're going to stop being negative. I'm not saying that at all. And there'll be a lot of people that are rewarded for it. You're exactly right. But some outlets are trying to figure out how they can regroup to at least make some money. Comment from a different viewer. If all these illegals are such upstanding citizens and an asset to have, why doesn't their own countries want them back? Yes, fighting Trump. We do have a piece about Colombia maybe we'll get to later on that. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning. When the snow leaves the roof cam, you'll see that changes have been made. Market Street is now Frank Street, okay? And the hill to the west will soon have your face carved in it because Mount Rushmore is getting crowded. Trump would approve. Thank you. Home values would plummet in the area. But I do appreciate the nice sentiment. Yes, yesterday we had the report that there, and I can't remember the representative's name, and I apologize, putting forth a bill that would have Donald Trump's face carved into Mount Rushmore. I don't know where that will go, but that's where we got talking about Mount Rushmore again. Well, if they can rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, why not? All right. Yesterday, the Senate confirmed Trump nominee Scott Bessent for Treasury Secretary. Bessent? I've heard it said numerous times, but it hasn't stuck yet. The Senate voted to confirm President Donald Trump's nominee, Scott Bessent, the CEO of Key Square Capital Management, to serve as the head of the United States Treasury Department. In a vote of 68 to 29, Bessent was confirmed to be the Treasury Secretary. So this comes on the heels of tomorrow. The hearings begin for RFK Jr. Now, I want to pose this question to you. This is coming from the New York Post editorial board, and they are encouraging the Senate to vote no on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And I wanted to get your thoughts on his nomination. It says, this is again the Post editorial board. It was, and it's quite a lengthy piece. I mean, they're clearly opposed to his nomination, but it was less than a year ago, in April of 2024, that then candidate Donald Trump went on a late night tear against Robert F. Kennedy Jr., saying, quote, "I lived with RFK Jr. in New York and watched him convince Governor Cuomo to make environmental moves that were outright nasty. Upstate New York was not allowed to drill or frack as Ohio, Pennsylvania, and others ripped off New York energy. Because of this, prices have skyrocketed all over that part of the country. I'd even take Biden over Jr. because our country would last a year or two longer prior to collapse." Referring to him as a Democratic plant, Trump added that RFK is an extreme environmentalist who makes the green new scammers look conservative, a big-time taxer, an open border advocate, and anti-military vet. RFK Jr. called himself an independent, but he's not. He's a radical left lunatic. These are all Trump's words last year. Now, I'm not going to state an opinion one way or the other on RFK Jr.'s process if he gets confirmed. I'm just telling you what the New York Post is saying, who is a somewhat conservative outlet, and wanting to get your opinion on it. Trump finished by saying no Republican can vote for this guy, and they say, Mr. President, you were right. On Thursday, Senate hearings begin on RFK Jr.'s nomination. Oh, I thought it was tomorrow, as Secretary for Health and Human Services. But nothing has changed about Kennedy from last spring. He's still a radical left lunatic who is anti-energy, a big-time taxer, and completely incoherent about our nation's health. No Republican can vote for this guy. No senator should. So your thoughts on this? I know we've talked in the past, and a lot of people have commented in the past about their concern of having certain people around the president. One name that came up was John Fetterman, though Fetterman wasn't tapped for any position, just having the conversation with him. There were people that were concerned that it would be like 2016, where Trump would get some people in there that didn't have Trump and the America First agenda maybe at the forefront of their decision-making and their reasoning. People that in many instances thought that they were smarter than the president and better than the president and his agenda. That was unfortunately a common theme back in 2016. Not so much this time. That's why the media keeps harping on loyalty and the loyalty test. And Trump wants these loyal people, which any president wants loyal people around him, because the American voter voted for the agenda of Donald Trump and overwhelmingly voted in that direction. Landslide victory. So, does RFK Jr. have the president's agenda and best interest at heart? That's just a question I'm posing to you. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. The Senate can save President Trump here from, this is again the New York Post, from someone who will become a millstone around him and his agenda. This is a choice born of a political pact of which they were not a part. We sincerely believe Trump would live to regret a Secretary Kennedy. We know the United States would. So senators, listen to Donald Trump from April 2024. This is the wrong man in the wrong job. Send him packing. Your thoughts on that opinion piece, but also your thoughts on his nomination. Do you believe he will be confirmed? That says Thursday. I've also read that it's Wednesday, that tomorrow some of the hearings begin. So either way, do you believe, I mean, look how difficult it was for Pete Hegseth with J.D. Vance breaking that tie. But with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., if Democrats believe that he will push a more Democratic agenda, will they end up supporting him and making this an easier confirmation than you would expect? These are just questions I'm posing to you. I don't have a strong stance, but I know that last, as I said, they're kind of a millstone around the president's neck and his agenda. We don't need that. We saw a lot of that in 2016 where people got in there that thought they were better than the president himself, thought they were smarter than the president himself, thought that their agenda was more important than the president's agenda. So obviously there's been a lot of concern of, will that happen again? And so far we have had some very interesting picks and people that I do believe are loyal to the agenda and loyal to the president. But will that remain? So your thoughts on that. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about immigration. Yes, we do have the changes in the military. In the 7 o'clock hour, at some point, we're going to be talking with Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard. So stay with us. This is, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Harder makes it hard.
to keep your home looking like the work of art you've always envisioned it would be. Culligan softeners reduce hard water buildup and your cleaning time, transforming every drop, every splash, every rinse into the fine art of a long-lasting clean. With a Culligan water softener, revel in the breathtaking beauty of your home, just the way you've always pictured it. Culligan, water you love.
It's important to get a flu shot each and every year because flu viruses are constantly changing and immunity from the vaccine decreases over time. Flu vaccines are updated annually to work against that year's viruses. The best time to get your shot is in the fall, but getting it later can still help. Getting a flu shot lowers your risk of getting sick, and if you do happen to get flu, it's likely to be less severe.
The Frankly Speaking roof cam that's got a little bit of snow on it, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio, receiving so many comments. I ran a little late there. Thank you for the questions for Sheriff Allard. He'll be coming in on the program in the 7 o'clock hour. Let's read some comments from viewers. Great to see changes coming to the military. Too many generals are politicians, and that is not what they are paid for. Wokeness is not part of military values, nor part of military leadership. Thank you very much. Yes, we're going to talk about that. I do have a couple immigration updates that I want to get to. We had mentioned that there was shots fired at the border late yesterday. The U.S. Border Patrol and Mexican cartel members traded gunfire at the southern border. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Comment from a different viewer. The big drug companies don't want Kennedy in because profits will drop. Interesting point. Yes, that's why I'm just throwing that out to what the New York Post was suggesting. The senator should vote no on RFK Jr. and just trying to get your thoughts, how you feel one way or the other. Okay, we're not one to talk about celebrities on this program very often. Occasionally we mention, when there's some inauguration performances and things like that, but we're not, focused on it like so many of the morning news shows. But there was, and the reason I bring this up is not because of the celebrity aspect to it, but just to give you a background on where this comment from Tom Homan came. Selena Gomez, the actress and singer, posted to Instagram. It's since been deleted, and this is a very common thing amongst the left, which is to show yourself crying while talking about a topic so you can show that you have the most empathy, that you care the most, that you're the most aggrieved. I first started noticing it during the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. When that was announced, there was a lot of people that had to, again, prove that they cared more than you, that they're more upset than you, so they post, which, I don't think most people want others to see them crying, but apparently that is kind of a popular thing to do, even though she did get pushed back and has since deleted it. But she said basically, all my people are getting attacked, the children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything. I promise. So this again, kind of, I guess, a Messiah complex. Don't worry, my fans. I will do everything I can. I know you look to me to, I guess, change immigration policy? Are people actually asking Selena Gomez to do that or think that she has that power? But that's not the reason, again, why I bring this story out, because Tom Homan was asked to comment on the viral video, and this is what he had to say. If you don't like it, then go to Congress and change the law. We're going to do this operation without apology. How do you like that? I love that line, because so often the media is trying to paint, and I've got examples of that, paint this is cruel. Remember, they did this with the kids in cages in the 2016, the years of, 2017, the first term, I got to start saying it that way, of Trump. So now, tough talking, border czar, Tom Homan, I don't mean just tough talking, tough acting, saying, we're going to do this operation without apology. We're going to make our community safer. It is all for the good of this nation, and we're going to keep going. No apologies. We're moving forward. Holman has promised that there will be arrests every single day, which would culminate in millions of deportations. Over the weekend alone, ICE made 286 arrests on Saturday and 956 on Sunday. Now, tying that in with what I had mentioned, the media trying to portray it as cruel, Anna Navarro from The View, not a Trump supporter, she said, "You asked the question, is this what people voted for? I've actually seen some video this weekend of Latinos who voted for Trump crying." Again, a popular thing to do online, apparently, because now she went into a different language, so I'm not going to try to and be in any way disrespectful and not be able to pronounce it. But they're getting deported. I'm having a very hard time mustering up any sympathy for these people. Ooh, so now she's kind of going after people that support her policy. I'm an immigrant. I know the desperation that it takes to leave your country. Amongst immigrants in particular, there is no doubt that we want anybody who had the opportunity to come to this great country and committed a crime, we want them punished. We want them deported to the fullest extent of the law. But a lot of good, hardworking people who are in our schools, who are our colleagues, who own houses and businesses here, who are the parents of U.S. citizen children, are getting caught up in this because it's been reported that ICE officers all over the country have been giving a quota. This is no way to meet the quota with just criminal aliens. I think what he's done with the military, in addition to the legal aspects that may be involved, has a lot to do with a publicity stunt. The point is cruelty. The point is instilling fear. All of those people crying now and feeling bad, by the way, they voted. There's going to be another election in 2 years, and we're going to have to wait 2 years of pain. So if you want things to change, get yourselves registered, get yourselves active. There's no reason why we should just be rolling over and playing dead. So this is all about a cruel publicity stunt. And Democrat Representative Jason Crow, again, the egos of so many people, he's on MSNBC saying, "I am not going to tolerate Trump's mass deportation." So he is a representative out of Colorado, and he is lecturing the president that he, one representative, is not going to tolerate what the president of the United States, who won in a landslide victory, is doing. And he goes through and talks about his community and his district. But he said, "I think it is important for every American right now to be really clear about what we're dealing with. I haven't heard or talked to anybody who says we shouldn't deport and detain violent criminals, that we shouldn't clean up our streets and keep communities, keep our children safe. Everybody agrees on that, and it's already a crime. What we're talking about is a mass deportation that's rounding up everybody, children, families, business owners. And I would like somebody in the Trump administration to explain to me how doing this is actually going to reduce costs, help our businesses, help our communities, and make us more safe. Because doing that will do the exact opposite, and they know it." He said, "Well, I'm not going to tolerate mass deportation of efforts of children and families and people who are striving to start a life here, who want to normalize their status within the United States. We owe those folks comprehensive immigration reform because that is in our best interest of our economy." But as GOP Representative Abe Hamadin is praising Trump's swift action, President Trump campaigned on this, and he's delivering it for the American people. If you look at the polling, even Democrats are in favor of deportation of illegal immigrants. So right now, he's deporting the most dangerous illegal immigrants, and you're starting to see the raids, and it's quite a sight to see because for too long, the Biden administration, they prioritized illegal immigrants over American citizens. They treated American citizens as second-class citizens, and President Trump is about America first. So these deportation raids, it happens so fast, and that's exactly his style of leadership. He knows he has no time to waste in delivering the results for the American people as they already voted for those policies back on November 5th. So far, so good. He also said that Trump has learned a lot from 2017, his first term, and this time around knows exactly what to do to get his agenda accomplished. It's kind of funny because many of the Democrats actually voted against the Lake and Riley Act, for instance, when it was in Congress last session, but now they're supporting it because they see electorally that it's beneficial to them. So no, we always have to be cognizant of that. A lot of these Democrats don't have any principles that they're standing on. They just saw that they got shellacked in the end of the election. So they're trying to moderate themselves or appear to be moderate. But honestly, it should have gotten unanimous support. That's the Lake and Riley Act in specific. Continuing, this is freshman Congressman Abe Hamadon saying, I see my colleagues all the time, and everybody understands that President Trump delivered the victory for many of them. And that's what's different about this time around versus 2017. Now, a lot of Republicans, they're on the same page. Leadership is on the same page. We're all working together, no matter if you're moderate, no matter if you're MAGA. It's a testament to see how Speaker Johnson won his speakership on the first vote versus what happened 2 years ago. And it's something to be seen. It's really beautiful out here. It's been a lot easier for me being a freshman congressman to see us all united, unlike how it used to be in the past. But these executive orders have been fantastic. Every Republican is in favor of them. I'm especially happy about the designation of the drug cartels as a foreign terrorist organization. And Arizona is as well, because we understand we have to go to war against these cartels. So just seeing the action that President Trump is doing so fast and his team is doing so fast is a testament to his leadership style and something that Congress must emulate and must back him up. All right, on that note, wow, we got a lot of comments coming in. Keep them coming in. We've got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
At John G. Ullman & Associates, our clients come first. As a fiduciary, we build personalized plans rooted in our shared ethics and values.
And you've been doing this for 45 years?
Yes, our in-house team creates custom plans built for you and your family.
We like the idea of a relationship that lasts.
That's what we're all about, helping you and your family build and protect wealth for generations. John G. Ullman & Associates, here for everything your money touches.
I'm Nancy O'Dell. This is Crime Expose.
It's chilling, it's haunting.
We knew exactly who it was.
Blood stains on her shorts.
See you in September.
It's a season of sharing.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
It's kind of pretty having the snow on the roof cam, though. Very hippie. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Let's go through some viewer comments. Lesson learned from recent border incident. Border Patrol needs more range time. If you cannot hit target, you cannot properly protect it. That must be in reference to the breaking story this morning where the U.S. Border Patrol and Mexican cartel members traded gunfire at the southern border. So thank you very much. Here's a comment from a different viewer. I did pharmaceuticals for 38 years, and Kennedy would just hurt all people, not pharmaceuticals. Thank you. And that's why I've asked the question, are you pro, con, indifferent to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. getting the nomination, maybe being confirmed? The reason I bring it up is the New York Post had a lengthy piece this morning suggesting that he would be a detriment to the Trump administration and a hindrance to Trump's agenda. So just your thoughts. Comment from a different viewer. It's so sad to see how little informed the younger generation is and how much they believe the pipe dreams that they see on TV. They're told that things are being done to hurt and harm people when in all actuality, it is meant to help save people. You actually have to feel sorry for somebody like Selena Gomez because she's so far gone in what the media has actually hoped that most everybody would have believed him followed. Thank you very much. One other comment here, I think. As far as the economy and grocery prices, they can't magically drop. Give Trump a chance to make things right. He has a lot on his plate, and he is cleaning it. I agree. That's what makes it so funny, because we saw such a lack of interest in the presidency for the last 4 years by the media. No scrutiny. We were even mocked and ridiculed and gaslit, even though that term's thrown around too often, but gaslit about the economy. That no, inflation's actually not a problem at all. It's a booming economy. You should be doing great. And yet, we all know what it was like to, I still do, but to get our groceries and pay our bills. So that was 4 years. And then they mocked and ridiculed you if you said you couldn't pay for all your bills. He said, haven't you looked at page 39 of the bureaucratic book here that says the economy is doing great? Now that Trump is in a week and a day, they are already criticizing him for not having egg prices lower and grocery prices lower, so much so that Senator Elizabeth Warren and 18 other lawmakers sending him a letter criticizing him. Hey, by the way, continuing on the border agents record a shockingly low number of illegal crossings 1 week into the second Trump presidency. Less than 600 people crossed illegally into the U.S. from Mexico on Sunday, a stunningly low number since Donald Trump took office. Sources said that not a single one of the 9 sectors received more than 200 crossings on January 26th, and the number of daily encounters only reached 582 in total. For comparison, the daily number of border encounters during the final days of the Biden White House teetered between 1,200 to 1,400 a day. Wow. So obviously the message is being sent. Now in New York and New Jersey, immigration enforcement officers now have quotas. They're trying to paint this as a negative, I guess. Each U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement fieldhouse, there are 25 scattered around the country, including in New York and New Jersey, would be required to make 75 enforcement arrests daily under the newly established quotas, according to a Washington Post report. It cited 4 sources with knowledge of the directive and who said it was handed down on Saturday. The quotas, if achieved, would boost the number of daily ICE arrests nationwide to more than 1,800, well above the agency's typical count. In September of 2024, the latest month for which data is available, ICE arrested about 282 people per day and 5 per day in the New York City area, if that gives you an idea. So allegedly, again, anytime it's anonymous sources, you take it with a grain of salt, especially in this administration. If you recall the first term, very often there was no anonymous source. It just made it so their article, they could criticize Trump with no real basis, but look somewhat respectable. So again, according to this, 75 arrests daily under this new quota. Okay, we've got some other topics to discuss as we wrap up hour number 1. As I mentioned, Sheriff Allard will be joining us in the next hour, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you think boots, think Hesselson's. Hesselson's has the largest selection of work boots in the area. Composite and steel-toe boots, Met-Guard boots, soft-toe boots, and hikers, duty and western boots, all in one location. Hesselson's, Amara Heights. Hesselson's has men's and ladies' boots in all sizes and widths. Choose from the largest names in the industry: Danner, Carolina, Timberland Pro, Keen Utility, Thorogood, Area, and Georgia, to name just a few. Hesselson's has been locally owned and operated since 1955, so when you think local service and great selection, think Hesselson's. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Hey, Aunt Camille. What kind of kid was my dad growing up? Was he cool?
Cool? He kept his room really neat.
Well, was he one of the coolest kids in school?
Yeah, well, he made an impression.
Tell me some of the cool things he did.
He once stood up to the neighborhood bully. She didn't stand a chance.
Wow, I hope I can be that cool.
You already are, Peter. Way cooler.
Oh, thanks, Dad. Hurt in a car? Call my cool dad. William Attar, 444-4444.
I'm Mary Offord. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. Don't worry, there's just a little snow on the roof cam. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. A couple comments, well, one comment from a viewer. Biden spent 4 years destroying the American economy and image. It will take more than a week to fix it. However, given recent presidential action, we are on our way. Thank you. All right, so Trump signed an executive order reinstating thousands of troops discharged for not taking the COVID jab. He is preparing to make good on a 2024 campaign. by bringing back more than 8,000 members of the U.S. military, restoring them to their previous rank, and providing back pay and full benefits. And he talked about this on Inauguration Day as well, I believe. He did talk about it recently. The order will cover active duty or reserve service members who were kicked out for not taking the COVID jab mandated by the Biden administration between 2021 and 2023. Just 43 of the roughly 8,000 removed returned to their service branch after the Biden administration the mandate. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth made the same pledge during his confirmation hearing earlier this month, saying that he stood by the president's promise that each discharged troop will receive an apology, back pay, and rank that they lost. Hegseth also acknowledged the reinstatement of troops pushed out because of COVID mandates while speaking to reporters at the Pentagon Monday morning. So a very important move. That's going to be some back pay. Very interesting. Trump also signed, I know I'm going through a little bit quick here because I think the sheriff should be in shortly. Trump signs an executive order to reshape the military, including banning transgender troops. Trump said he signed the executive orders while aboard Air Force One on a return flight to Washington from Florida. CNN previously reported Trump was expected to do so. He announced 4 executive orders that he has signed that will reshape the military, including banning transgender service members from serving in the U.S. Armed Forces, gutting the military's diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, and reinstating with back pay service members who were discharged for refusing to get vaccinated from COVID-19, as I mentioned. The orders, which were first reported by the New York Post, came as Trump's nominee to lead the Pentagon. Pete Hegseth was sworn in as Secretary of Defense on Saturday. Hegseth has long stated he planned to implement major cultural changes to the military, including ending DEI practices and removing woke service members. Hegseth saying today there are more executive orders coming on removing DEI inside the Pentagon, reinstating troops who were pushed out because of COVID mandates, Iron Dome, and that's one I'd like to talk about more as we learn more, but much like Israel has their Iron Dome, looking at a system that could be used here in America like the Iron Dome. This is happening quickly, and as Secretary of Defense, it's an honor to salute smartly, as I did as a junior officer and now as the Secretary of Defense, to ensure these orders are complied with rapidly and quickly. Now, Trump had banned transgender Americans from serving in the military in 2017, but then President Joe Biden issued an order in 2021 repealing the ban. Hours after being sworn in his second term last week, Trump signed an order revoking the Biden administration's 2021 move to allow transgender members to serve. However, the order Trump announced he had signed Monday goes even further and outlines new military standards regarding gender pronouns and state that mental and physical readiness requires transgender service members be banned from the military. Quote, it could take a minimum of 12 months for an individual to complete treatments after transition surgery, which often involves the use of heavy narcotics. During this period, they are not physically capable of meeting military readiness requirements and require ongoing medical care. This is not conducive for employment or other readiness requirements. So that's just where we are this morning. The Iron Dome is kind of fascinating. Hegseth teases an Israeli-style air defense system order. Hopefully we'll find out more about that. I think, look how successful and really important the Iron Dome has been for Israel. The Israeli-made air defense system is heralded for its ability to target and shoot down incoming missiles, which has helped limit damage inside Israel from attacks by Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis through the 15-month-old Middle Eastern war. All right, when we come back, some more things to cover in hour number 2, and also Sheriff Jim Allard. So stay with us. We will be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
You can bet all the sports, all the players, all the action, all the time. Now you've just got to ask yourself, should I? Take a pause to stay in control and think about how much time you spend betting. A pause can help you if you're watching your wagers more than the game. Pausing can get you back to enjoying time with those around you. Visit oasas.ny.gov and take our survey to see if your wagering is something to worry about. Take a pause and get back into the game.
Welcome to Frankly Speaking, talking to the people that affect your life, that affect all of our day-to-day lives. This is something you're not going to get anywhere else. We've got a lot to offer. There'll be a lot of news, local, regional, national, really the things that affect you. And I think you'll be glad that you tuned in. So think of it as radio on TV. Frankly Speaking. Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. I'm your host, Frank Acom. Thank you so much for joining us. We were talking a little bit here about the Iron Dome. Not a lot is known quite yet about how this could be used in the United States, though a very important conversation to have. Pursuing an Iron Dome for America was part of the Republican campaign platform, saying Republicans will ensure our military is the most modern, lethal, and powerful force in the world. We will invest in cutting edge research and advanced technologies, including an Iron Dome missile defense shield, support our troops with higher pay, and get woke left-wing Democrats fired as soon as possible. That was an official part of the Republican campaign platform of 2024. Interesting to see. Well, obviously, Israel is much smaller, about the size of New Jersey, so we're not sure how this translates to the whole country, but we will learn. Time will tell. But Trump's Department of Education has also ended the DEI initiatives. President Donald Trump's Department of Education began eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and squashed what it called Biden's book ban hoax. In response to Trump's executive order cracking down on DEI in the federal government, as well as guidance from the Office of Personnel Management, the department said it removed or archived hundreds of DEI guidance documents, reports, and training materials from its outward-facing communications channels. The Department of Education said it also put employees in charge of leading DEI initiatives on paid administrative leave. Wow. These actions are in line with President Trump's ongoing commitment to end illegal discrimination and wasteful spending across the federal government. They are the first step in reorienting the agency toward prioritizing meaningful learning ahead of divisive ideology in our schools. The department specifically eliminated its Diversity and Inclusion Council, which was established via executive order by then-President Barack Obama. Trump rescinded what Obama-era executive order and issued a new one called Ending Radical and Wasteful Government DEI Programs and Preferencing, which ultimately terminated the council, along with the Employee Engagement, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Accessibility Council within the Office of the Civil Rights. There you go. There are so many great comments coming in. Okay, I didn't know what this was. Everybody's been talking about this. I apologize. I was not aware of it. But I guess there's a Trump burger, like a fast food joint called Trump Burger. Okay, I apologize if I skipped over your comments. I wasn't positive of what it was. But after the second or third person mentioned a Trump burger, I thought I should probably look it up. I thought maybe it was just a typo this whole time. So yes, gotta go, Frank. Going to get a Trump burger. Okay, well, enjoy. Let me know how it is. Send pictures, please. Another comment from Ken. Thank you. Ken, I'm going to read yours when we come back from break. I had mentioned earlier we were talking about Colombia. And Christine Balling, we just mentioned it very quickly, but I thought this was a very good point, saying that Trump versus Colombia teaches Latin America a lesson. Don't mess with the U.S. And we don't have to go through the whole history of it, but this was a crystal clear message that was sent. But with Donald Trump in the White House and Marco Rubio in the State Department, the days of coddling our anti-American Marxist neighbors are over. From now on, the new president has made it abundantly clear. Don't mess around with the United States or you'll find out. All right. Asking the question this morning, by the way, Sheriff Jim Allard is going to be our guest here in just a little bit, but I've been asking the question this morning. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The confirmation hearings begin either tomorrow or Thursday. I've heard some differencing opinion on that. The New York Post reported this morning, Thursday, but they are calling for a no vote across the board, saying that he is left-wing, that he is still truly left-wing. What is your thoughts on that? I've heard from both sides, and I love to read both sides. That's why I'm posing the question this morning. Let's take a short break a little bit early in this hour because I want to make sure that we read Ken's comments before the sheriff comes in. Get your questions in for the sheriff as well. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Listen up, team. When I look around this room, I see a fighting team of brave antibodies. But the flu is coming in strong. The good news is, Anthony, the human we're tasked to protect, just got his flu shot, which supplied us with strong new gear to defend against the flu. So let's go fight for Anthony. Are you with me?
Let's work as a team to defend against the flu. Gear up with a flu shot to help protect others and reduce your risk of being sick or hospitalized with the flu. Learn more at getmyflushot.org.
Football show breaks down all things NFL. GMFB Overtime.
Check out top highlights, player interviews, special guests, and everything in between. 5 days a week.
GMFB Overtime. It's football for everyone.
Name something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big Fox.
And Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security. See, it's starting to clear up a little bit there. Had a little snow on the camera this morning. Still do, but starting to see historic Marcus Street. Of course, the Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. A couple comments from viewers. First comment is Trump's DEI program should stand for Don't Illegally Enter. That seems to be the case. I think you're right. It would be don't enter illegally, though, right? Yeah, there we go. Don't enter illegally. DEI. There. Got it backwards. Comment from Ken. Ken from Horseheads writes, Frank, we all need to buckle up for the bumpy ride that the legacy media and Democrats are going to take us on for the next 4 years, which we are already starting to see the beginning of. Though Jim Acosta, very interesting. The lies and misinformation will be nonstop. I hear constantly that the food source will dry up because Trump is deporting all the illegal immigrants that are picking the vegetables and fruits, which confuses me that since it is against the law to employ illegal immigrants, how are the owners of these operations getting away with breaking the law? And that we are deporting business owners. Again, how do illegal immigrants become business owners? Unfortunately, the sheeple that believe everything that the legacy media says aren't critical thinkers and don't use common sense to evaluate what they hear. Yes, the media, of course, it can't be understated how much, unfortunately, say they have. Yes, they are losing some of that, like CNN laying off so many people, Jim Acosta included, or he's resigning, CBS and others. But at the end of the day, they still have a very powerful megaphone. Hey, I want to give you this update. You may have heard this was coming in very early this morning, kind of breaking news, that Vivek Ramaswamy, he's going to make his announcement very soon. Yes, this is an announcement that he soon is going to make an announcement on running for elected office after leaving Doge. He said he'll have an announcement soon on his future after parting ways with the so-called Department of Government Efficiency he helped create. The former Republican presidential candidate teased a run for Ohio governor during an interview with Fox News' Jesse Waters. On Monday, when asked why he had left the newly formed Doge, well, the reality is I'm pursuing elected office very shortly, Ramaswamy said. We have an announcement coming soon. After touting President Trump's first week in the White House, the Ohio native said he felt he could help the most through elected office. When you're talking about a constitutional revival, it's not just done through the federal government, it's done through federalism, where states also lead the way. So I'll be saying more on that very shortly. I think the Ohio River Valley can be at the bleeding edge of the American economy for the next 20 years, he later suggested. It was my honor to help support the creation of Doge. I'm confident that Elon and team will succeed in streamlining the government. Now, this is an example, to Ken's point, where the media has tried to portray bad blood there. Anonymous sources saying that Musk and Ramaswamy were butting heads. That was the narrative that the media tried to portray, but they've also been trying to, from the beginning, suggest that everybody's getting sick of Elon, that Trump is getting sick of Elon, wants him out, and yet Elon's still around. So again, like Ken said, we all need to buckle up for the bumpy ride that the legacy media and Democrats are going to take us on for the next 4 years. I see that, I know not everybody's the biggest fan of Senator John Fetterman, and I understand that. He did not vote for Pete Hegseth, though many speculated that he would. He's been an interesting character, very pro-Israel, but a Democrat who has been speaking out against Democrats. I see that he outraged, if you will, the members of The View yesterday. Now, John Fetterman, the senator from our neighbors in Pennsylvania. The first-term senators already rankled his fellow Democrats by visiting Mar-a-Lago. As you know, many people in this audience were concerned that Trump maybe shouldn't have the conversation with him. I don't think the conversation is a problem necessarily, but I can understand the concern, as we saw a lot of people that sided up to Trump in his first term that did not prove beneficial. While discussing Hunter Biden on the show, which is interesting, Fetterman then let slip that he believed Trump's widely publicized Manhattan trial was more about politics than the facts of the case. I'm on record criticizing going after Hunter Biden, and I also agree that the Trump hush money trial in this city, in New York, was politically motivated, Fetterman said. That wouldn't otherwise have been prosecuted if it had been somebody else. It's all about delivering second chances. He said he's all about delivering second chances. So Sonny Hoyston couldn't let that stand, right? So she says, just for clarification, did you mean that the 34-count case in which Donald Trump was found guilty of various financial crimes was politically motivated here in New York? Fetterman held firm, insisting it was inappropriate anytime the judicial system gets weaponized and targets enemies for political gain, regardless of which party is involved, whether there's a Democrat going after a Republican or Republican going after a Democrat. I like to think I call it strikes and balls because the judicial system has to remain impartial. That's really the cornerstone of our society. Now, Fetterman isn't the only Democrat to argue that Alvin Bragg's case against Trump was politically motivated. If you recall in the summer, and this may have more to do about his potential run for mayor, but Governor Andrew Cuomo said, quote, if his name was not Donald Trump and if he wasn't running for president, I'm the former AG of New York. I'm telling you that the case never would have been brought. That's interesting about Cuomo. They said now, and I didn't mean to get on this tangent, we may ask Sheriff Allard just quickly his thoughts on this, but the focus of the mayor's race has now shifted to former Governor Cuomo. That's where the spotlight is. This is in New York City. Eric Adams is having some health issues. Now the focus is on, will Cuomo run for mayor? Cuomo is not a candidate right now for mayor, but he is quickly becoming a central figure in the race. Already he's the target of attack ads. I actually happened to stumble on one this morning as I was on Empire Report. You know how you have the little ads on the websites, and it was an attack ad against former Governor Cuomo. Hey, Andrew, you must have thought we forgot about everything, huh? I mean, you lied about the deaths of thousands of seniors, said one ad. The declared candidates, meanwhile, are treating him like the frontrunner, while the incumbent, Mayor Eric Adams, sees his political fortunes decline. Adams is set to go on trial on federal corruption charges in April and has drawn criticism from Democrats for the overtures toward President Trump. A recent campaign memo from the city comptroller, Brad Lander, on the state of the race focused almost exclusively on Cuomo, who dominates the field in several privately commissioned polls. And we heard that, we reported on that last week or the week before, that he is leading, he is a front runner in every poll that has been taken. A poll last week from the national opinion research firm Bold Decision showed Cuomo with 33% support, 23 points ahead of Adams, his next closest competitor. Since resigning the governorship more than 3 years ago in scandal, Cuomo never entirely left the public eye. We know he likes to give these speeches. He's been on podcasts. He misses the limelight. Is this his way to make a step back in, maybe potentially ultimately running for governor again? He sees himself as a political victim. Now, you and I don't want to put words in your mouth. I've said numerous times on this program that the nursing home decision during COVID was the worst decision made in that crisis, and that should disqualify him from any elected office. And that's just one of the many things, scandals that he was engulfed in. That one, he has never officially paid any kind of price. And I would say that paying the price should not be mayor of New York City, but he's loving the attention. He's loving the focus on him. So yes, I believe it is only a matter of time before former Governor Andrew Cuomo makes that announcement that he'll be running for mayor of New York City, as Adams has become less and less popular, but also has sided up next to a little bit Donald Trump, and that has obviously been a concern for many on the left who are not too happy. Now, again, we've got Sheriff Aller coming in just a little bit. Oh, I did want to mention, I haven't had a chance to mention this yet. Well, I have, but not on this morning's program. Don't forget that petition class is coming up on February 1st in Steuben County. We'll get you more information on that when we come back, but we got to take a break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Trust your child to Dr. Hench's at either Watkins Glen, Elmira, Horseheads, or Elkland Family Dentistry. All 4 locations provide cutting-edge technology to make sure your visit is comfortable and stress-free. Dr. Hench's offers treatment in all areas of dentistry, including same-day crowns, implants, root canals, oral surgery, and treatment for all ages. For the best dental care in the region, trust Dr. Hench's and his staff at Watkins Glen, Horseheads, Elmira, and Elkland Family Dentistry. Call any one of his offices today or visit them online for more information.
The Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app.
For the touchdown!
Yeah, yours. Your teams. Your highlights. Your scores. Your stories. Just choose your favorites to get more of what you want.
To the end zone!
And of course, stream your teams live. The best part is free with your pay TV subscription. Grab your Fox Sports app today.
The Fox website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. And joining me in the studio this morning, Sheriff Aller. Good morning.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day in Steuben County.
It always is a beautiful day.
Is.
How are the roads? Not too bad.
They're a little greasy.
Are they? Yeah. It's too early to have anything done yet.
Yeah.
We have so much to talk about. We can talk about the national, local level. We got some questions from viewers. So let's start with that. How's that?
Sure. That sounds good.
Being that we live in the heart of the Finger Lakes, could you have Mr. Allard speak on the new law of all boaters of all ages needing the Safe Boaters course as of January 1st, 2025? And thank you.
Yes. It was phased in over a number of years. Each year the age, how old you had to be to not need it went up.
Okay.
Until this January, where it's everybody that's operating, anyone that operates a motorized vessel on a navigable waterway has to have their boater's safety certificate.
Oh, wow.
And so what we've been doing is since last June, every month we've had a free boater safety course at the sheriff's office. and we'll continue that through this summer.
Okay.
To try and get as many. We could only do 30 at a time. That's one of the prerequisites for the course. So we've been knocking out as many of those folks that we can, trying to make sure that we get as many of our residents that are boaters that don't have it through it. I went through it in September. I've been boating since I was old enough to get in the water.
Isn't that funny?
And I still learned a few things.
Oh, of course.
It was worthwhile, and I'm glad I did it. I did it through our office, through our folks that teach it, and they do a phenomenal job. And you can also do it online. If you do it online, though, through the state, through Parks and Rec, through their website, you can do it, but you have to pay for that one.
Oh, okay. Oh, so yours is absolutely free. How many people are going to wait till like May? you know, because the weather's going to change and everybody's going to be like, oh my goodness. Because I had not heard about this. So no one's grandfathered in.
No.
Everybody has to take this
If you have Coast Guard certification or Power Squadron certification, you're good to go. And you can look that up on the New York State Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Parks and Recreation and Historic Restoration website.
Rolls right off the tongue.
It does.
All right. We got a lot other things to talk about, but thank you to the viewer who said that in. Send your questions in at any time.
That's a good question.
I thought we could talk, this is at the national level, but I would love to hear your opinion on it, and that's the border. Because everything since Trump, can you imagine Trump's only been in office for a week?
I know.
It seems like a year. It's been nonstop. You forgot that even on the weekend, there's a news cycle now with Trump.
So this is very topical because we just had our state sheriff's conference last week, and we had folks from the northern border come visit us because here in New York State, that's a concern. And what we found out is even more concerning. In 2024, so there's a section of the border that's just east of Ontario Lake.
Okay.
That goes New York into Vermont. As you know, just a week ago, a Border Patrol officer was killed in Vermont, performing his duty in the line of duty. And some of his coworkers came and presented to us.
Oh, wow.
They saw last year, they saw a 1,000% increase in illegal border crossings on that section of the northern border compared to 2023. This isn't even compared to 10 years. This is in 1 year, it increased by 1,000%. They had more known and suspected terrorists crossing illegally on the northern border last year than on the southern border.
That's scary. Is it because the focus has always been on the southern border?
It is, and the resources are on the southern border. A lot of our northern border looks like out here.
Yeah, exactly.
You drive up, there might be a gate, you drive around the gate, and you keep going. It's literally that easy.
Wow.
So there's a big push to get additional resources up there and try to close that down, close down that loophole.
Well, I know Congressman Langworthy was bringing this up quite some time ago because I don't think it was on anybody's radar. Even with the story you mentioned last week or 2 weeks ago now, I guess it was last week, it was almost shocking to hear Vermont. Because, again, you think of Arizona, Texas.
And the more shocking thing is that the folks that are crossing the border in Vermont and New York are over 75% male, single males, military age, the majority from China, India, and Afghanistan.
Wow.
So they're not coming here for good reasons.
No. And that's why, what do you think when you watch the news coverage of the deportations and the crackdown? It seems to be going pretty smooth.
It does. And, they've been ramping this up and planning it for a while.
Yeah.
And they're utilizing all their partners, which, again, brings us to New York.
Right.
And our state governments and our attorney general's decision to not allow us to cooperate with our federal partners.
It doesn't make any sense.
So if I share motor vehicle information from the Department of Motor Vehicles with ICE, I can be charged with a felony in New York State.
That doesn't even make sense.
How ridiculous is that?
At a time when we always talk about cooperation, especially, remember, after 9/11, that was always the big thing.
Yes.
You have to have cooperation between every agency.
Unilateral communication.
Yep. Shared services is a big issue, and they're telling you specifically that you cannot share that information.
Yes. That if I do, I can be charged with a felony by Letitia James.
That is. And she would do it, too.
It's called, she would. She'd love to do it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's called the Green Light Law, which I had to sign and verify under penalty of perjury that I would not share DM. So these guys are having people come over the border trying to stop the vehicles, yet if it's a New York plate, they can't find out who owns it. They can't find out if it's suspended. They can't find out if it's stolen.
Right.
Nothing.
It doesn't even make sense. I mean, who comes up with this? Is Albany, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, they come up with decisions like this that are
it's
detrimental.
New York City.
Well, New York City, and they do it for some type of virtue signal, I guess. But there seems to be a lot of pushback, and we're going to talk about the state in the budget. But with public safety, there seems to be a lot of pushback now, and I think that's why Richie Torres, Mr. Defund the Police, is now all of a sudden Mr. Rah Rah Police,
right?
Because he wants to run against.
He's our hero now.
Yeah, right. He wants to run against Hochul on the Democratic ticket. But I think they're starting to wake up. That doesn't mean they're not going to do anything. I don't think.
Well, and again, if you look at the returns from the last presidential election, the shift.
Yeah, Trump made a huge
significant.
Well, because I know we've talked about it. They can keep. I hate this term, gaslighting us, but telling us everything's safe. But everybody's been affected one way. It's just like bail reform.
Yeah.
We know it's not working.
So again, all bail reform has done is delay the process. And create a whole class of victims unnecessarily.
Yeah.
It's made us innately less safe.
But, the governor acts like she's Mrs. Public Safety now, and no one talks about the bail reform. That's completely ignored. If you want the biggest, easiest fix right away, don't you go that direction?
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's not.
Well, and she continues to close prisons.
Oh, yeah,
And there's about so I get notified every time someone is released from prison onto parole and sent to Steuben County.
Okay.
And virtually, I'm going to say 90% of them, their new address is 3 East Pulteney Square, which is DSS.
Yeah.
So they're coming in without a place to be. They're being afforded housing as homeless. And we all wonder why our homeless numbers are going up.
Skyrocketing.
Well, it seems to correspond pretty good with the number of prisons that are being closed.
Yeah. And what is her stated goal behind all these prison closures?
Well, the Sheriff's Association met with, and I can't remember which senator it was, the one that's behind all of the HALT Act and all of those, and straight up said, our goal is to have zero incarceration. That's our goal.
That's terrifying.
And we hear you. We understand what you're telling us. When we told them how dangerous these laws are, we hear you. We understand what you're telling us, but our goal is zero incarceration.
How is that even? It's not a goal. I mean,
that's their goal.
Well, that's their goal, but my goal is at the lottery. It's not going to happen.
Well, my goal is to keep people safe.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. How can they defend that position, I guess?
Apparently, they have enough constituency to defend it to them.
Isn't that amazing?
But it's shrinking.
Yeah, that's what I think. Even in the city, because you look at, if you read the New York Post, that's like Mad Max stuff there.
It is.
I mean, it's terrifying.
Yes.
So I can't imagine the residents of New York City are even happy with the direction of public safety. It doesn't seem that they are.
They're not, and that's why you see Mayor Adams reversing his stance on several items.
Yeah, and if you look at the involuntary commitment, which is interesting that they're having the conversation, but right away, as soon as Governor Hochul even mentioned it, Carl Hastie said there's too much detail there, basically signaling we're not going to look at this.
Yeah.
So everything's dead in the water except for the kind of the fluff, right?
Right. Yeah, the only thing I saw encouraging is a raising of the maximum age to take the test as a police officer.
Oh, yeah.
That was in the budget. That's encouraging. I think there's a lot of folks that are getting out of the military after 20 years at age 38 or 40 that could do another good 10 years.
Of course.
In law enforcement.
And are we still struggling with a shortage in general?
We are.
Yeah.
We just had a test, deputy's test. 27 people took it for the entire county.
Oh, wow.
And we'll do the PT test this Saturday, which usually cuts that in half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, what did the numbers look like even 10 years ago?
Typically you'd have 75 to 100 people taking the test.
What a big difference.
Yeah.
And corrections officers still
low on those. We're starting to make a little headway on that.
Okay.
But we're still significantly short.
All right. We're going to take our first break, and then when we come back, we got some other major issues to get to. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
It's a new year. And for millions of New Yorkers, that means more money in your pocket. For the second year in a row, the minimum wage in New York State has gone up. Both this year and next, the minimum wage is increasing 50 cents per hour. That means an additional $2,000 to spend on all the things you and your family need. Then, in 2027, the minimum wage will be tied to inflation, which means increases will match costs. New York's new minimum wage, putting money directly into the pockets of New Yorkers who need it most.
I'm calling in regards about my mother, and I'm here, and I just want to thank you because it saved my mother's life yesterday. And I'd like to know the names of the people that came in and saved her so I could call and thank them. And she's doing fine. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
When you fall and cannot get up, an accident can turn into a tragedy. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast. Life Alert saves a person from a catastrophe every 10 minutes.
Life Alert is a lifesaver. If it weren't for Life Alert, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-806-2212. Call now, 1-800-806-2212. For a free brochure, call 1-800-806-2212.
It's important to get a flu shot each and every year because flu viruses are constantly changing and immunity from the vaccine decreases over time. Flu vaccines are updated annually to work against that year's viruses. The best time to get your shot is in the fall, but getting it later can still help. Getting a flu shot lowers your risk of getting sick, and if you do happen to get flu, it's likely to be less severe.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and in the studio we have the sheriff. All right, so where do we go from here? You want to talk about the county?
Sure.
All right, why not? Everybody's been waiting patiently. I can't do that. I can't do that to the viewers. Any updates? Obviously, we've been following this for way too long.
Right, I haven't. So here's the troublesome thing for me. Since the decision came down from the Supreme Court Justice, I haven't heard yet from the county anything that would indicate that they have received it.
Okay.
Other than we're evaluating it. But there's been no admission of wrongdoing. And there's been no change in policy regarding executive session.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
because that was pretty crystal clear what they thought about the use of executive session.
I thought the justice did a great job of spelling that out very well. So I haven't seen that yet. And again, I don't know what's going on because it's all still being done in executive session.
Right.
So I do know that I look at the minutes and the agendas of the different committee meetings, and the administrative committee especially seems to bring up things in executive session and vote on them still that are not on the agenda.
That doesn't make any sense.
And it's pretty consistent almost every month. This past month, this month, just 2 weeks ago, they went into executive session without it being on the agenda and voted to sell almost half an acre of village property in the village of Bath to the American Legion, which for $1,200.
Right.
Which I'm all about. Help the Legion out.
Absolutely.
But put it on the agenda.
But why is that even executive session?
Right. That's what troubles me still is I feel like I fear that they haven't learned any lesson or changed direction. And when I hear Kelly talk about let's look forward, let's look out of the windshield,
Yep.
I agree. But before you can move forward, you got to fix the car.
Yeah, you've got to learn
the car's got to run.
Right.
It's got to run
that's a great point.
correctly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can look forward all you want, but you're not going anywhere. So that's troublesome for me, is that I don't think they've learned or admitted any wrongdoing yet.
I haven't seen anything admitting
No.
wrongdoing, but if they're still doing executive sessions, then they definitely haven't learned any kind of lesson. But is there
Right.
any repercussions that you know of when it comes to executive sessions, or is it just you got admonished and then they ignore that admonishment?
So the comptroller can come in and do an audit of that and admonish them further.
Okay.
The comptroller actually is in right now doing a 4-year audit of the county finances.
Oh, interesting.
But it's all strictly county finances.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So they're going to be there for several months for that, and we'll see what that reveals when they're done. But yeah, that's troubling, and I still hear different legislators, and I get reports of different members of the county government making untrue statements publicly about me still. That's very troubling because at some point in time, there's going to be consequences for that.
Yeah.
And when I've talked to Kelly, and she is trying to bring those folks forward. She really is.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe that. But when I talk to her, if we're going to move forward, let's quit doing the things that got us in this situation in the first place. And that's making untrue statements about me, making slanderous statements about me to the public. That needs to stop.
Yeah, and I don't understand what the end game is there, because they've already, especially last time, and we talked about it a lot on the program, how much taxpaying dollars went to this. You would think, especially with a major local election year this year, you would think that this would be something they want to steer clear of, not making it worse, not doubling down when it comes to executive sessions.
And I did hear Kelly say that some of my figures weren't correct. She's right. They paid more than what I reported.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, they have spent more than what I reported.
Is that right?
Because in my press release, that was just up until September.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Yeah.
So there's been more since then.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah. They hired Communication Council, which is a crisis communication company, and it's $700 an hour.
Wow. How do I get that job?
To help them create their talking points.
I went into the wrong communications field.
You did.
That's where the money's at. So
I'm sure Hesselson's is paying you $700 an hour.
They are. Thank you, Hesselson's. But that is really interesting to think that when you hire a crisis communication, doesn't mean you technically did anything wrong.
Right.
But it's also, hence the name, kind of a red flag as well.
Yes. Communications Council is the name of the company. They're out of Ohio. And it's over $700 an hour to use them, and they've used them.
Wow.
So,
but where are these talking points being used? Because I haven't heard. There's been no press release.
Remember the video thing?
Oh, that I
Jack
remember.
Wheeler did?
Yeah, I remember that. But I'm saying since the court case or the Supreme Court decision came down, has there been any? You mentioned you haven't heard anything. I haven't seen any statement other than we're, like you said, look into it, and there's been nothing else.
Right.
But at what point, like I mentioned so many times, do you stop digging? Right. I mean, and that's why. Does it look as if there's going to be any appeals to this?
I don't know.
Yeah, we just don't know.
There's been no public discussion of it. There's
maybe
been
executive session.
There's reportedly been several discussions in executive session about it.
That doesn't seem like a good. I don't understand the executive session, but I know way back during. You remember during the Tea Party days?
Yeah.
That became a very big topic. The open government and
yes, be transparent.
That's all it takes. And if you firmly believe what you did to the sheriff, why back away? Why be quiet about it?
Right.
Why do it in executive session? Be forthcoming with the taxpayers who just spent, as you said, even more than we initially reported.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about the county?
No.
Anything else you can
say?
No.
Well,
okay.
Well, I keep doing my job. Oh, and one of the things that Kelly said was that the county offered to buy me insurance.
Oh yeah.
And I'd rather do my own policy than take the insurance. I don't even know where that came from, because the original resolution was you buy your own insurance or you won't be able to do your job or get paid.
Yeah. So that's not you wanting to. Yeah, and that's what it all boils.
It's like the hostage taker saying, "Well, they never said they didn't want to stay with me."
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way of putting it. But you think of the time and cost and everything that this has had on you, just so you can quote unquote keep your job. But it's not a typical job. The voters voted for you.
Correct.
And
Yes.
I know I say this every time you're on the program, but this is what seems to make people, especially in Chemung County, who don't really have a dog in the fight, they see this as, wait a minute, wasn't the sheriff voted on by, so who believes that they know better than the voter?
Independently elected.
Yeah, independently elected. It's very much the Trump aspect that we've been talking about, where sometimes, at least last term, there's people behind the scenes that thought they knew better than the man that was elected president of the United States. And that's not what we want from, I don't think any president should want that.
Well, and I think that's kind of the crux of the matter is I'm not who the legislature wanted in this position.
Right.
They wanted probably someone a little more malleable than me, probably someone a little less principled than me.
Sure.
And the people of Steuben County had different ideas.
Yeah. And that's the way elections work.
Who they're supposed to be representing.
So frustrating. So there's no real timeline on anything else. We're just kind of waiting to see if there's anything. Wow.
Yep.
I wonder if it's going to be interesting to see the fire, if this lit the fire under anybody come election season. You're probably watching closer than anybody.
I think you'll see some people run and primary some of these legislators.
I do too. But I haven't heard anything. That's just me speculating because, again, I know I keep saying this. I'll do my public service announcement. But you got to start taking out petitions at the end of next month. I
Yeah.
mean, you only have not even a month to decide as of today. So if you're
Correct.
going to do it, and we have that petition
Yep.
class that I've been promoting, which is coming up at the
That's good because
Steuben
I
County
don't think
Annex.
people realize how strict the rules are on petitions.
Yeah. And it's like I try to tell people, it's not intimidating if you know. Like I know when I first ran, I talked to Joe, I talked to Vicki
Yep.
Olin, because they're the experts, right? And they
Yep.
want you to succeed.
Yeah.
And you don't want to go out in the freezing cold and then have something be
Not
thrown out.
counted, yeah.
Yes. So again, that's February 1st at 9 a.m. at the Steuben County Annex. That's 20 East Morris Street in Bath. I think that's great that they're doing that at
Yes.
the Board of Elections, because people
It
should
is.
get involved. And this isn't just at the legislative level. It's all this
At
is
the
a very
local
local
level. Yeah, we had, I think it was the town of Lindley a year or 2 years ago. The only elected office that anyone was running for was highway superintendent.
Yeah.
No one was running for judge. No one was running for clerk. No one was running for town supervisor. No one was, everything was write-in. In Hornby, I think we had a period with no judge. There's been several of our municipalities where judges from other townships had to come over and double up.
Yep. And if you look at even like town boards, and I know town supervisors are up this year, they're begging. Some of these towns are literally begging, please get involved.
Please run.
And it's really not that, I mean, there's quite a
not
bit of
that
time.
onerous.
Yeah, no. And you, at the end of the day, you feel good. It's like I was telling Joe Semplinsky was on last week, the new assemblyman, and and we were saying, you know, win, lose, or draw, after you get petitions signed, after you run, you still can pat yourself on the back because you did what most people don't do. They want to complain,
right?
But they don't want to take that step.
They don't want to try and
change.
fix it.
Exactly. So we'll be promoting that up till February 1st, which is coming up in just a couple days. But make sure, if you want to get involved, get involved. But we got to take a break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Are diapers destroying your confidence? Men's Liberty is the answer for incontinence. Quality of life is so important. You want quality of life up here. But guys, diapers, that's down here. Imagine staying dry 24 hours, day and night. Quality of life, up here. Men's Liberty can help with their revolutionary and super discreet urine collection system that's safe, sanitary, and has sold over 5 million. So discreet, no one knows you're wearing it, giving you a long-term solution to deal with incontinence. With Men's Liberty, life-changing freedom, and Medicare can cover it. Call Men's Liberty to get a free week supply with your first order and see how Men's Liberty may be available at little or no cost to you. Let Men's Liberty help you get back out there. Quality of life? Up here, with the most revolutionary solution to incontinence ever made. Call Men's Liberty right away.
Call 800-484-4675. That's 800-484-4675.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. The sheriff's in the studio, the Hesselson studio, that is. All right, we got a lot more to talk about. Hey, you know, we've been talking about some ups and downs, positives, negatives, but I didn't even ask about how Toys for Tots and Coats for Kids went this year.
They went so well.
Yeah.
And we had people, especially with the Toys for Tots, even after we did our event, people would call, hey, I've got a basket load of toys that I want to bring in. And we were still receiving at the office for the next 2 weeks more and more toys that we would then give to Toys for Tots, and they would go to Steuben County Children. So it was awesome. They went very well, and the coats, BOCES was getting coats from us within a week of us getting them, and we'll have the rest of the folks in and get those peeled out.
And of course, Shop with a Cop. How'd that go?
That was huge. There was, oh my gosh, I think almost 60 kids this year at that, and we team up with everybody on that one.
Yeah.
So it's not just us, but it went very, very well, and they made some children made some Christmases
Isn't that
much
nice?
happier. Yeah.
Why did I start with that? Why didn't I start
don't
with the
know.
positive? We always wait too much. I want to read a couple comments here from viewers. That's what I was looking at here. Thank you, Jim. I will be signing up for the boating course. I was unaware I needed to. Has that been kind of common?
It is, because you think, like me, I'm 61,
Yeah. You're not-
and I have to go take a boater safety course. I've been boating for 50 years.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, you do.
You do. Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't get more attention.
And the important part, too, is you can now get, once you get that boater safety course, if you go in to get your enhanced license from DMV, it's a little anchor that goes on your license, so you don't have to carry the certificate with you on the water.
Oh, that's nice.
It's right on your license.
Right part of your license.
You can do that. You
like
can pay
the anchor,
for that.
like the anchor tattoo I have on my forearm?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Just
from when you were in the Navy.
Yes, exactly. So when I ate my spinach. Another comment from a different viewer. Many people should show up to the next legislative meeting and voice their concerns and call for all their resignations in regards to the situation with Sheriff Allard. Well, thank you, viewer. We'll leave that out there for others to digest.
Thank you.
Yes, that's very nice of you. One thing, and I've been talking to a mutual friend, and recently we had the breaking story in New Orleans with a car driving through the crowd.
Yep. Yeah.
And that person's point, which is a very good point, we think of like a New Orleans or some big crowd, but we have a lot of big events in our area. So do we think about that at the local level?
We do, and I'll tell you, after the Boston Marathon bombing, we revamped the way we looked at the Wine Glass Marathon.
Oh, yeah.
And at the start and at the finish, we have the portable barricades now, and I work closely with Chief Spalding. She just ordered more barricades after New Orleans, but every year we increase the security and improve the way that we look at the mass gatherings. Our issue for me as the county sheriff is we have so many events such as the Fall Foliage Festival, Festival, tongue twister there.
Yeah.
The county fair, the Dairy Festival, the Hammond Sport Fair, Smoke in the Valley, Smoke on the Water, all of these events that are typically held in conjunction with very small municipal PDs, and they don't have the resources. So we help them as best we can, but we have a long way to go to really get to the point where I feel secure that, because when you talk about a soft target, we are as soft as it gets. And
I read an article that's the days of like September 11th with an airplane, those are gone. Terrorists are now looking at what is relatively very simple for them.
Yeah, just drive into a crowd.
Yeah. And it does seem to happen with pretty too much frequency.
Yes, and again, you can drive into a crowd with a rifle and a IED, and you're on the news.
Yeah,
and that's what the big push is. So we meet our chiefs, Steuben County chiefs. We meet bi-monthly, and these are the things that we go through. Is hey, these are the resources we have. Let's make sure we pool our resources across. And through the emergency management office, we can get more portable barricades when we need them. They have some also. So yeah, I've been looking at this very closely since Boston Marathon bombing, because the Wine Glass is the second biggest marathon in the state of New York.
Yeah,
second only to the New York City Marathon.
Right.
So, and it's widely regarded as a must-do. Because of the beauty of the area and the time of the year, and it's fairly flat.
Yeah.
And it's one of the last qualifiers before Boston. So it gets a lot of national and international attention. One year, Runner's World said it's one of the top 10 in the world that you have to do if you're a runner.
So I'm glad that, because everybody thinks it can't happen here.
Yeah.
And then God forbid if something does happen.
Well, I don't want it to happen.
Exactly. That's And I know, especially you bring up the Wine Glass. I know that you've been very
involved.
Focused with across the board on that. And we'll talk about that. We're all thinking, because it's snowing out, I'm just trying to think of the nicer days of the Wine Glass Marathon and some of the events. We're talking about boating. We're talking about all these nice things, and then you look out in the snow. So in general, how's things at the sheriff's office?
Things are good. We still need more correction officers, obviously. We were actually fully staffed for about 2 weeks on the roadside, and we'll continue to chase that dream. But things are well. We just finished the FBI LEADA training, so we're on path to have every working supervisor through, that's called the FBI Trilogy of Leadership. It's it takes a while to get there, but we're on path to have all of our supervisors with a 3-tiered FBI leadership training under their belt to move forward. I'm very excited about that.
Well, I know I've not joked with you, but talked about the newsletter in the past, and it's very impressive how much you were able to accomplish in the office monthly.
Yes.
I mean, you've got to be busy.
It's very busy, but again, busy hands are happy hands.
Yes.
So so I have a few thoughts that you only gain professionalism through training and training and leadership. So professionalism is one of our core values. So we continue to train and make sure that we get the resources to our folks that are going to help them excel.
And how's the morale been? Because we talked about it with the county. I don't want to get back to the county issue, but I think it's important to note, because when you have a lack of people or you're looking for more people, how is the overall morale?
Morale's great right now.
Oh, good.
The deputies just got a really good contract, and they got 20-year retirement, which they were one of the few agencies that didn't have it.
Yeah.
And they're doing well with that. And we've been able to recruit in phenomenal people. And I'm very excited about that. And it brings our level collectively up.
Yeah, of course.
And it allows us to provide better service. And, you know, you're always going to, it's law enforcement. There's always going to be times where you do things that are uncomfortable and unpopular, but you have to do them.
You have to do it.
And I think our folks understand that and are doing a phenomenal job of moving forward through all the diverse issues that we face.
Of course. And is the changes being made, the 20-year retirement, is that because it's been so difficult to find people to do the job?
It's a monetary issue.
Yeah. Okay.
It costs a lot more for that program than it does for the 25-year. We're one of the last counties to switch over for their deputies, and it's entirely a monetary issue.
Okay. Now, in the past, we've talked about, we mentioned a little bit earlier on, defund the police and some of the things we've had to deal with in Albany. When you look at the incoming term, the new president, is it nice to at least overall see what seems to be a very pro-police mentality? Because that's been a little bit different from years past.
Right. Yeah. So we at the conference that I was just at, state conference, we had the DEA and the Border Patrol. They were both presented, and they were like ecstatic over the changes because now they can do their jobs without their hands tied.
Border Patrol specifically.
Yeah, they felt like for the last 4 years their hands were tied, and now they can do their job the way it should be done. And they were very excited. I'm excited to see. I think we're heading into a time where we've always had police support in this area, and it's always been phenomenal. But I think everybody's starting to wake up to the fact that all of these failed social programs of the last 4, and in our case, the last 8 to 12 years, have come back to do nothing but make them less safe. And when you look at, like, if you remember when we had to do police reform in 2019, that was everybody but state agencies. And when we've had to do the Principal Policing Act with mandatory reporting to the Attorney General's office, that was everyone but state agencies. And now what you're seeing is most of the issues of abuse or ethical issues that we're seeing in the media are not local.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
So if the state is running the boat on those, which they are, what's that tell you?
Now, I know this is kind of going full circle, though. Do you think, because we see the change at the national level, the inroads that you mentioned that Trump made here in New York State, what do you think the 2026 election looks like? Not to get that far ahead, but with Hochul, because Hochul she can say that she's for public safety, but nothing in her record shows it.
No. And she's caught between a rock and a hard place because she's not liberal enough for her own party.
Isn't it amazing?
And she's not Republican enough for the rest of the state.
And she's not willing to fight. Like Cuomo, for better or worse, he didn't care about burning
bridges.
He loved to fight. Yeah. She doesn't want that fight. And so when Carl Hastie signals that they're not going to look at that, it's over.
Right.
Because she doesn't have that fight in her. That's why nothing came up about bail reform in the state of the budget when she's talking about public safety.
Right. And again, we're still the only state that our judges can't assess public safety to do bail. We're the only state.
It makes no sense.
And we're the highest tax state. Again, we wear that crown.
Yeah. And I know I've asked you this in the past, and this time maybe it was a little bit better. But do you get nervous in the sheriff's office when it's time for the budget?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially not as much right now as it was under Cuomo.
Yeah.
Under Governor Cuomo, it was like, what's coming? Yeah. What do we got to get ready for?
Yeah. You never know.
Because that's where all of the most disastrous decisions were made. Bail reform specifically, but the HALT Act and the Clean Slate Act, which was under Hochul.
Yeah.
And all of those, and they're still trying to figure out how they're going to do that.
Yeah.
We had a meeting with the Office of Court Administration on that, because we can't seal without an order from a court.
Yeah.
Yet all of these records are supposed to be sealed.
Yeah.
And the courts are going,
yeah.
How do we do this?
Why do we do that in New York State? Not to get on a tangent here, but we did it with
everything
marijuana.
backwards.
Yeah, we did it with marijuana. Right? It's a wild, wild west. It still is. But now they're trying to tout the numbers as if it's a big tax boom. Think of how much time and effort and money's been wasted on the way they did it. And all
Raise
it takes
the Age was a perfect example.
Yeah, take a breather and think this through.
Our last 3 juveniles that had to go to a security detention, we had to take them to Nassau County.
Wow.
Because there's no beds upstate.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
And we're 5 years in.
It makes... Yeah, I don't understand the knee-jerk. Well, it's got to be with her. She wants to do the kind of the virtue signaling and beat California to the punch, must be.
Yeah.
Which is not where you want to be.
No.
I mean.
No.
But like you said, at least at the national level, we know we have more of a pro-police. And I do think there are some, like Richie Torres. Do I believe he's changed his opinion? No. But at least
Leopard hasn't changed his
Yeah, exactly.
spots,
but at least you can see people realizing and waking up to the idea that voters want public safety.
They do. Well, people want to feel safe in their own.
My goodness, right? And when all these issues are even affecting us upstate in rural areas, it goes to show there's a larger problem overall in the state.
Remember this time last year when they had the squatter laws in New York City, and people upstate were going bananas because could this come here? Because that's the track.
Yeah.
Whatever's in New York City
Absolutely.
gets pushed to the rest of us. You know, when they look at corrections, they think Rikers Island is the only jail in the state.
I know.
And they make all their decisions based on Rikers.
No. Well, like you said, at least at the national level, I guess. And I do think 2026 should be interesting because I don't even know if Hochul makes it past the primary. Because if Richie Torres does enough to dupe people into believing that he's more public safety, and let me tell you, that article that I read in the New York Post, I'm sure a lot of people could be duped by it.
Unfortunately.
But that's got to be kind of good for Republicans in the long run, only because then you've got the kind of bloody up during a primary and then 2 fresh-faced candidates as compared to Hochul.
Yeah.
Wishful thinking.
It'll be interesting to see. I hope that, again, I'm going to be shamelessly Republican here, but I hope that we find a candidate that's a rock star and that starts pointing out because Governor Hochul has a press release every day.
Yes.
And we need a candidate that's going to look at each one of those and go, this will never work and this is why.
Yeah.
And or this would be a better way to do it and this is why.
And can we also not wait to the last minute?
I know.
It's so frustrating every time.
It is. It's very frustrating.
Because we'll say, most of the time we're kind of stuck with somebody, not always, but that doesn't have the name recognition. So now you've got to get the name recognition, raise the money, all that in a very quick amount of time.
And you've got to get the media notice because that's the other thing we trouble or stumble with is our candidate doesn't get the media coverage.
No. They never do. I mean, and a lot of it is because I think the mainstream media can ignore that candidate because no one knows who that candidate is.
And that candidate's got to camp out on the steps of the governor's mansion.
I know. I know. Well, we are out of time. Thanks for giving me so much time this morning, Sheriff.
Yeah, no worries. Anytime.
We'll
you know
do it
that.
again soon?
Yes.
All right.
Whenever.
Join us every weekday morning at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox, we will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early.